So thanks for joining us for this conversation. Wanted to go over some of very common PDM error messages I see from the SolidWorks and SolidWorks PDM support side. One of them being error accessing a file on the archive server. This one I've seen so many times, and it can really happen when a user is browsing within the vault or appear in their error log, and they may see this as, I can't access this file, I can't check this out, I can't get latest version, it's really slow also. So this is a very, very popular error message. That's typically how it pops up. As far as vCAD goes, is this something that vCAD can really assist with and help, and we can troubleshoot more easily with vCAD?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason for that is because vCAD really is a purpose-built solution that we have, kind of optimized, and it falls right within the sweet spot of how SolidWorks operates. And what I mean by that is, the error alludes, well, actually the error isn't very clear, but it's typically revolving around connectivity issues, and it can be networking related. It could be networking related on the client side, or it could be networking related on the server side. And there's a lot of variables there. And what we are doing with vCAD is we're actually cutting down the number of those variables, where typically what we do is we pair up a vCAD environment to the SolidWorks PDM server environment. So that connectivity is very well controlled, it's very well understood. And so we see a lot fewer, if not almost none of those weird connectivity types of issues. And just going a little bit into the detail, the client interacts with the PDM server across a number of protocols, and a lot of those protocols are not very well suited towards wide area networks. And so by placing the vCAD workstations in optimal proximity to the PDM server, we're able to deliver the application to the user over a single optimized network protocol, which is HTML5 streaming over SSL, a secured connection. So you actually get not only a more optimal network stream and throughput to the user, but you also get a secured connection, where typically the connectivity to the PDM server is not encrypted. And that's actually something that a lot of folks don't know. So vCAD actually adds a layer of security on top of performance.
That's great, Mike. The security is just that added cherry on top. I see this on the PDM side. It's very tricky to troubleshoot as well, because often you'll have one user who sees this and other users are doing just fine. You're nodding because other users are just fine. So it can be very tricky to isolate the variable there. What is really driving this, where, as you mentioned with vCAD, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a profile of sorts that is applied for all users. So it's much easier to identify any issues, whereas a computer can differ in so many ways for each and every user within an organization. And it's really difficult, or they may be in a different geographic location. It could be many things. So that is wonderful. My source of frustration is always not being able to replicate the issue the user is seeing, and it makes it so much harder to troubleshoot in that way.
Yeah, that's right. In terms of replicating the issue, it's a very quick shortcut process where we spin up a new virtual machine or vCAD instance right alongside in the same environment that the customer's having their issue in. And everything is mimicked. Their connectivity, the applications, the operating system, everything is an image. So we're able to easily troubleshoot that a lot quicker too.
That's great. That's great. The other message that we see so many times is could not access the item in the database. This one's a little bit more tied to the SQL database, and it could mean a number of things as well. Typically, users will see this pop up as they're browsing the vault. They can click OK and bypass it, but it gets very, very troublesome because it will keep appearing, and it will also appear in their error log. So that's one of the things we get is this message popped up for me. I can click through it, but it's making it really hard to work smoothly. It's getting in the way. So can vCAD also assist with these kind of database related messages as well?
It can, and it kind of pairs up to our managed services offering, and the fact that we have very in-depth monitoring going on with the SQL Server that we manage for our customers in PDM environments. So we have a lot of visibility in terms of how the server is performing, what its latency is. But when you have additional variables thrown at you with the client and where the client could be connected, then that makes it a little bit more difficult to troubleshoot. So by kind of reining in the client and bringing it into our vCAD environment, it makes those metrics that we collect a little bit more meaningful and easier to interpret. So that definitely helps with the troubleshooting process.
Excellent. That's really great to hear, especially with this error message. It can be something that needs to be remedied on the user's machine, or it goes to SQL, or it could be a number of things. So having that simplified process of here's the machine, it's very similar, if not identical, to what everybody else uses. It also increases the chance of other users seeing this if it is a greater issue, and having the corroboration there. Whereas sometimes, a lot of the time, this is just one user who's seeing this message. And like I said, replicating it can be hit or miss. So just having that that singular system and that singular profile to access and go back to at will. We don't have to ask them for a remote session as well. We can easily pop in there and check out what's going on. Just makes that process much more straightforward. Well, thank you so much for the time and going over some of these very common PDM errors that I've seen time and time again, and can be very hard to get to the bottom of because these are open-ended and very general. If you search these error messages, you'll have a list of things that could be the root cause. So thank you for going over these and how vCAD can really help troubleshoot and prevent some of these error messages.
Thanks, Daniela.